So it's a symbol of wealth and position to have ivory objects in your home, wearing them, whatever. So we're in big trouble because it's an awfully big country, and they are rich, they have money, and they haven't yet had their consciousness raised about why that an elephant has to die to provide its ivory. In fact, the International Fund for Animal Welfare that we work closely with, they have an office in Beijing, and they did a survey a few months ago, and 84% of the people asked thought that elephants shed their tusks, they didn't die. So we have a big job ahead of us to try to change the attitudes of the people, and in the meantime we're losing elephants at a terribly fast rate. Now this elephant was poached actually inside the park. It was the only one we had poached inside, a young male, and we had others being poached outside, and because so many elephants were dying naturally, the people around there started picking up the ivory and selling it, and then they realized, oh, this is a good thing, so they started killing them to sell it. So we had that along with the deaths due to the drought. And this is, they found a car near Amboseli with a lot of ivory. That's one of my assistants inspecting in Soila. She's my deputy director. And this was in the Amboseli headquarters. So those were fairly big tusks. Those are definitely, you see a female here. These are female tusks, it's long. Those are males. Those are males. The males taper more. Anyway, a lot of elephants died just for that, and there have been so many confiscations. And anyway, it still goes on. So during that year, the 2009, 83% of the wildebeest died. There were something like 17,000 wildebeest in the world. 71% of the zebras, 61% of the buffaloes, and 24% of the elephants. And of the elephant losses, we had about 385 died in 2009, and 96 of these were adult females. This was devastating for the families. 27 of them were matriarchs. You can just imagine what that did to the families. They were, that some of those families had been led by those matriarchs for the last 30 years or more, and all the old females died. 57% of the calves born in 2008 and 2009 died. So it was a very bad time for the elephants and for us recording this, because there was nothing we could do. There wasn't enough hay in all of Kenya to feed all those elephants. There's no way you could intervene. You just had to watch, and it was hard. But finally, that was right through December 2009, and then finally in January 2010, we started getting clouds, and then we finally got some rain. And the amazing thing about savannas, about African savannas, is, and it never ceases to amaze me. I've been living in Kenya or Tanzania now for 44 years, but this never ceases to amaze me, that the ability of a savanna to recover. And it gets down to this stubble. It's just dust and a little bit of stubble on the ground in a drought. And then you get some rain, and like 3 months later, isn't that just wonderful? So same here, the vultures in the trees, they're very heavy, fat vultures, and then it rains, and there it is. So it is an amazing habitat, the savanna. So then very soon, elephants were up to their knees in grass, and very happy indeed, and they were able to mud wallow and have a good time. And the males started coming into must again, and you have to be, in order to come into must, an elephant has to be in very good shape, has to be very fat, have a lot of body fat reserves, and this is one of our biggest elephants. His name is Tim, and he's in full must here, and this was after the rains came. So the big males started coming into the park again and looking for females, because they had certainly not mated at all in 2009, and not very much in 2008 either, because everyone, with elephants, if they lose weight, if they lose body condition and lose body fat reserves, the females stop cycling. Just as human females who are marathon runners and everything, they stop cycling as well, because their fat reserves are so low that they can't, that they need that fat to get the whole cycle going. So the males started coming in, and this lucky female had 4 suitors. This is Eudora and he had these 4 big males looking after her. She looks very coy. And this is Tim again, and he managed to get 2 at the same time, which was really lucky. He does, but Lotus and Lynx from the LA family, and and see, they have little calves. These are about 2.5 years old, which is just the right age for them to come into estrus again and start mating. So Tim does very well for himself. And then here's a mating, and matings in elephant society are not private affairs at all. Everybody joins in. The whole family joins in. So this is a young female. I think this was Kit, and this is her mother come rushing over. And then there's lots of screaming and rumbling and special rumbles that the female makes after she's mated, which actually attracts more males, so that in the end she gets any of the best and the biggest male around. We have always been involved in training the scouts, these local Maasai scouts who become a force, an anti-poaching force. So we do the training, and this is me, and that's Soila Sayalel, who's my deputy, and Nora, who's and Jirani, who's the training coordinator. And this was a team of scouts that we trained. We only trained them in elephant stuff. They also get trained, very good training in military sort of training to be anti-poaching people. And after a while, another organization helped us. They were helping us with the scouts for a while, and then realized that they really needed to bring in a lot of money to help these community scouts all around Amboseli. There are about almost 280 of them on the group branches around Amboseli. So it's an organization called Big Life Foundation, which was started by a photographer named Nick Brandt. And he brought in big money and bought the Land Rovers and set up 8 anti-poaching camps, and bought the uniforms and boots. And ever since he's done that, the poaching has gone way down. We only get a little. We're still getting some, but not, but it's so much less than it was in 2009 and 2010. So we're quite happy. Now, I showed you the map of Amboseli and how the elephants actually don't stay in the park. They spend a lot, even more of their time outside, and they have a very large range. And we realized also that there was development going on around the park, new lodges and various things happening. And we realized that we had to find out exactly which routes the elephants were taking in and out of the park, and when they went out into their greater range. And so, as much as we don't like to do any kind of invasive research, and by that I mean we do completely non-invasive, which is staying back and watching animals. We don't interact with them. And but we decided that we had to put aside that that proviso and actually do some radio collaring of elephants, because we desperately needed to know where the corridors were, or we thought we knew, but we had to actually prove it, and where it was very, very necessary to keep places wild. So we last, it was July 2011, we got a fantastic team of experts together. These were a Danish guy named Henrik Rasmussen. And he is actually the one who makes the collars and all the technical things. These collars run off, rather than run off satellites, which is very expensive, they run off the telephone towers all around the ecosystem. And so here he is fitting one of the collars. So we got this great team, all of us on the project. Henrik, a very, very good, and Max Graham, who's a colleague and has radio collared dozens of elephants up in the Mount Kenya area. And this is the vet, the KWS vet, who's the best darter. He darts with a gun with M99. He's so accurate and so good. And he has the most wonderful name. It's Ephantus. We think that's, but that's his first name. Anyway, so we went out, and I get very nervous about doing this. I hate it because I'm so frightened that something's going to happen, and I'll feel so guilty. And but we had the most amazing luck. We were planning on doing 5 females from 5 different families that we knew went in more or less in all 4 directions outside the park. And we thought it would take us 2.5 to 3 days. Well, we did all 5 of them in one morning, which turned out to be a complete record for radio collaring. But the team was so good that it went so smoothly that the elephant was never down for more than 20 minutes or 25 minutes. So this was the first one. This is Ida, and you can see her collar, and she's just woken up. There she is, and she's wet because when they're down, you have to keep pouring water over them to make sure they don't get hot, so that they always wake up with. And that was Lobelia. She just got up and then she's feeling her collar, and that's usually it. They'll feel their collar when they get up, and then they never pay any attention to it again. And that's Vicky, who's been radio collared before. So in fact, we took her old collar off and put that one on, and so she's an old hand at radio collaring. And that's Maureen, and that's Willow, and that was the most amazing. That's her mother here. This is Winnie, her mother, and this is Willow's calf here. And the rest of the family are always, they never go away, they never leave the female. She eventually falls down, and they sometimes try to pick her up, and you have to go immediately and chase them away so that they don't hurt her trying to pick her up. But they never, even though it's a scary event and there are cars and people on the ground, they never abandon her. They only go 50 meters, 75 meters away at the most, and then they wait. Now, even though they don't know what's happening, this family's never been radio collared before. So then when Willow woke up, and I guess she turned in, it probably called, we often can't hear, and they came running over. It was the most amazing greeting, where Winnie her mother was so excited about finding her again. And they've been fine. The next time we saw them a couple days later, they acted as if nothing had ever happened. So it was altogether very successful, and I didn't have to feel guilty.